revisit of Space Marine 2. We did this episode with Blue. Remember that?
That was episode 8.
There has been very little on this game until now, and so let's pull up the trailer. The trailer is just a highlight of the PvE. There's a PvP trailer as well, but I wanted to show this PvE one because I'm kind of leaning more towards the PvE situation. So if you're just...
Are you?
Yeah, I'm just kind of getting over the multiplayer competitive stuff. So
Wow.
yeah,
This
but
is
if
a
you're just...
big day, guys.
Yeah, if you're just listening, it's just showing off a few of the Space Marines saying that we need to get a group of 3 together to fight for the greater good. And essentially, it's just showing, yeah, Space Marine 2.
No, this game doesn't really have like a very in-depth story, and it doesn't need to. I think that's perfectly fine. But I was like, you guys know that this isn't like the biggest. I'm not the biggest fan of this genre, but if you go back to episode 8, I was excited about this one, and I'm still excited about it now. If you guys are just listening, what we're looking at, this gunplay is just like so over the top and so ridiculous and so exactly what it needs to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just pure chaos, blood everywhere, and explosions, and tons of hordes of enemies, and I think it's so cool. Like you said, just over the top, and that's all this game needs to be.
Yeah, this is like if you were just to take your classic FPS and just like pop it on steroids.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
and then what they added compared to the first one is a lot of customization. So the first one, it was more just like a story-driven. You just go through the story and play. It had no multiplayer, but now this one, it's adding your own loadouts, different classes, customization, and I just think that's really cool.
Why exactly? Let's get back to the topic at hand. Why exactly are you leaning towards the PvE now?
Just because I get so frustrated with the competitive side of things. Way too often I am yelling at the computer, and that's partially why I quit playing X Defiant already. Like, the first day, I was getting like 30, 40 kills, and then after that, like, I'd still get up there. I'd be at like top of the leaderboards, but like, it just wasn't fun when I wasn't doing well. Which in a game like this, I can always do well.
What do they call them? What are the like real good people? The sweats.
Sweats.
Yeah, the sweats. They call them the sweats.
Yeah, and like, I mean, I'm a little bit of a sweat, but I like to be able to play a game and have a conversation when I'm playing the game, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was trying to do that while playing X Defiant, but I wasn't having fun because I was dying 50,000 times, still getting my kills, but like, ugh.
I'm excited for this. I'm excited Adam has gone to the single player realm.
No, not single player, co-op without going against other people.
This is the first step. So first you get rid of the multiplayer, then you get rid of the co-op, and then you join me on the dark side in my deep, dark dungeon playing solo games, solo story missions by yourself.
No, I don't know, but I'm excited about this game, and I think what we can talk about most of this is how much has changed from the first one and how much replayability this game has compared to the first one, because I really enjoyed the first one, but at the end of the day, like, I felt like I got through the story, and I was like, okay, now what? And like, there's, I don't know there's another mode called Horde mode. I think it's like a top-down Horde shooter, which is fine, but to me, like, that's not what I'm interested in. I'm interested in things like the third person, like FPS, like that kind of stuff, and like growing my character in that sense. And I think that adding friends to play with, adding the PvP modes, adding the operation modes, I think that's going to make this game expand into such more replay value than just going through the story and calling it good.
I think it's a very smart move. I really do, because as much as I'm against it, and it makes sense of why I'm not the hugest fan of these games, gamers that are into shooters really are also kind of hand in hand with co-ops and multiplayers. They just, in a sense, just really like, they really enjoy playing with groups of people. And I think that's part of the reason why I don't latch onto them quite as much as other people do. But I think this is a very safe move. I think it's a very smart move, and it's one that, at this point, almost probably needed to be mandatory. Like, I feel like they probably needed to do this, or they just kind of get left in the dust.
I just think, and Total War is or Warhammer in general is such a like niche group, I think. And like there's tons of fans of this group, but I think to bring people in that maybe don't follow so much of the lore, play these other games, but with this one, like, or yeah, and Warhammer in general, I think this can bring in a group of people that don't normally play those typical games because of what they're adding in terms of the PvE, the PvP, and the 6 different classes. And I think that's just like you said, it's a great move to move the spectrum of getting more people into the game or the just Warhammer in general.
Getting more people into the franchise, and one of the things that I kind of always kind of reference Warhammer with is like, if you're a fan of Warhammer, it's you were probably a fan of like you were probably like Gears over Halo. You know what I mean? You were probably that dude. You know what I mean? Because you just like that over the top kind of ridiculous kind of mash them like just down and dirty mash it up kind of shooter. And I think a lot of Gears players have kind of transformed themselves into, you know, more Warhammer fans just because we just haven't had anything from Gears in a while. But I do think that, like you said, this opens up the possibility because like it's like, what's the easiest way to get somebody what's the easiest way to get your friend into a game that they're not really interested in?
Make it a multiplayer game.
Get them to play it with you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a fan of X-Defiant at all. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I would have never played that game, but I played that game just because, like, I was hanging out with you, and you know what? I loaded in, and I don't have great things to say about it, but I don't have bad things to say about it either. And you know, like, if you want to play again, I'm gonna load it up again, and we'll jam, and I'm gonna suck, and it's gonna be fine. You know what I mean? But like, that's the easiest way to get a new audience is to have people kind of recruit their friends. It's like, yo, you want to play this game with me? Like, yeah, I think you might like it, and you play together and you learn to like it. And I think like I said, I think it was mandatory. I think they needed to do it.
Don't get us wrong, the first one was very successful. Everybody that plays the game loved the game, but from what I've kind of read and the kind of consensus is there wasn't enough. Like they wanted more, and I think this game is giving so much more. Like you said, with the friends, the operation missions, and the fact that they're like it's not just a story. Like you'll have, like I said, there's 6 different classes. You can level each of those 6 classes up, and each class has 25 different skills per class, and like that's just so much time you can put into this game and unlocking the customization to really customize how you want them to look. You'll be able to change your loadout and level up the guns, unlock new skins, and I just think that's really cool. They're adding so much to make it a game where it's not just a play the story and then you're done. And then the fact that they're adding PvP, and I'm glad you brought up Gears, is like when I was watching the PvP trailer, I was like, oh, this is like Gears of War. This is like a Gears of War game, and the different game modes in that, it's called Annihilation. So I wonder if that's gonna be like a kind of how Gears. It's I don't know the name of the game mode, but it's like you start with your 6 players, and you just kill everybody, and then the round's over. Essentially,
It's a one death. Once you're out, you're out.
Seize Ground. I'm wondering if it's gonna be like a capture the flag or no. Yeah, I don't know, or I don't know what Seize Ground's gonna be, but I think, and then the last one's capture and control. I think that's gonna be like a domination kind of situation, and then they'll have more, but at launch, those are gonna be the game modes that they have. And then, which is going to be the maps for the PvP is going to be different than the PvE modes and the like main narrative. So they're just adding a bunch to make this game more robust and more things to do and more fun.
And I think you said it perfectly. The first game was a success, and what they did, I think they did it beautifully well. They didn't change anything about the first game into the second game. They didn't change the things that people loved about the game. They kept the core of the game that people loved the way that it was. They've just expanded on it. So now, if you were a fan of the first game, you're most likely going to be at the second game, and you're just going to get more of it.
Again, I think that's what everybody was longing for in the first one. It's like we just want more. We just want to keep Horde killing all these aliens and these bad people, these bosses. The bosses look really good. Like I felt like in the first one, like, yeah, there was some bosses, but like nothing like the bosses that I saw in like this trailer. And I thought that's really cool. So
I think they did a great job. I'm excited for the updates. I was excited about this all the way back in episode 8. You guys know I'm not a fan of the shooter titles. This is not something that I usually latch onto. This one, on the other hand, though, I was a fan of Gears. You know, Gear. Like I wasn't a fan of. I'll be honest, I wasn't a fan of Call of Duty. Really, other outside of the campaign, I wasn't really a fan of Halo. I was a fan of Gears because I liked that grindiness of it. I liked I like the dirtiness and the grittiness of the game. I was a Gears fan, and Warhammer is that for 2024.
I totally agree. Some other things to note is so the game's going to have a battle pass, but the cool thing about this battle pass and like season pass in general is it's all for cosmetics. So if you're somebody that loves to collect cosmetics, then you'll be able to get the season pass and you'll get all those. Where I think they did something that's cool that not so many people are doing this, but all missions, enemies, weapons are all free updates. So anything they add gun wise or enemies or missions or operations, all free. And yeah, I mean, there are a couple games that do that, but nothing that you like really hear about. But I think this is really cool that they're doing that. And because not a lot of games do that this way.
Cosmetics, I'm fine with. If you wanna charge me a couple bucks for like, you know, this skin or something like that, like fine. Because you don't need it. But you know what I mean. When you start talking about like this gun is pretty sick, but it's $4, it's like, well, that sucks, dude. Like that sucks. Because whoever buys that is just gonna have a leg up, and it's like, whatever. Here's your $4, and you just feel just slighted out of it, and like
Becomes a pay to win. And I think that's where you see a lot of these like multiplayer games becoming that way. And like X Defiance kind of they say it's not pay to win, but like to level up to get that DedSec faction, it takes time or I can spend $20 for it. I don't want to do that. But so I'm glad they're not doing that. I'm super excited about this one. I think it looks great. It's going to add so much more to what the first one already added with the customization, the multiplayer. I think it's going to be a really good game and do just as well, if not better than the first one because of all that.
be on the lookout. It looks amazing. I am more than happy to uninstall X Defiant and download Space Marine 2 when the time when the time has come.
September 9th of 2024 coming up. Not quite around the corner, but it's on its way.
It'll be here quicker than you think.
Right when work starts for me again, but we can talk about that another day.
We digress.